Well, good morning, everyone. On this cold morning. It's a cold morning, but we're glad to have you all here. We've got lots of special guests with us as well. Good morning. I'd like to welcome you all to the Tuesday, January 24th, 2023 meeting of the Denton County Commissioners Court. We're glad to have you. At this time, I'd like to welcome up Mr. Bill Lee, who is going to lead us in our invocation and in our pledges. We'll be followed by Scott Hallbrook. And I want to remind everybody to please turn off your cell phones. If you'll please stand.
I'd like to first say that when Cindy asked me if I'd do the invocation today, I said, is Bobby Mitchell going to be in the room? And there she is right in front of me. Please pray with me. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for your many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Father, we're so blessed to live and work in Denton County with administrators who love you and support our businesses, our schools, our first responders, and our children. We thank you, Lord, for allowing us to live in a country where we have the opportunity to pray and live free. We ask that you be with those who manage, judge, and operate our county. We ask that you keep them safe. We ask that you keep our leaders, give our leaders your wisdom in making decisions for our citizens and our communities. Empower us all to walk in your ways. Father, we ask all of these things in your precious name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Good morning. Please join me in the U.S. pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Perfect. Well, thank you, guys. And at this time, I'd like to welcome up Cindy Howard, who is the Vice President of the Flower Mound Chamber of Commerce. And we're so excited that we have the Flower Mound Chamber of Commerce leadership class with us today. So they're spending the day up at the county. And Cindy, it's great to have you. So do you want to say any greetings?
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate it so much. I want to introduce you all, the leadership class. This is the 26th leadership class of the Flower Mound Chamber of Commerce. This is my 23rd year to lead it, and I'm honored and privileged for that. And I want to thank you guys for hosting us today. It's such an honor to be here, and this is my favorite day of the whole year, and it gets better and better each time. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Perfect. Good. Well, we'd like to have the leadership class come forward here, and we'll take a big group picture. So let's have your whole class come right up here, and we'll do a group picture.
Join us?
Yeah, we're going to stand up right here. Okay, so y'all have many. Y'all come right up here. Yeah, y'all line up right here. This will be great.
The cute face on everybody.
Well, hello, April. Hi, Stacy. Hey, James.
Perfect.
She's right over here.
I can see it. No, I'll take it.
All right. All right, here we go.
Okay, 1, 2, and 3.
Good. All right. Do you want to say? Do you want to greet? Okay. Commissioner Mitchell would like to say some greetings.
Good morning, good morning. It's an exciting day for Flower Mound and Denton County. I just so appreciate our leadership classes, our leaders, our next leaders that are coming up, and I always remind them when I talk to them, you're not just going through this leadership class for yourself, you're going through this leadership class so later on in life, I can see you up here, I can see you as a commissioner or a state rep or a council person for your city or town. I thank you. You learn a lot about how the city and the county and the state works, and that's so exciting. I went through leadership class back in 1988, And I learned so much. I didn't readily jump up and run for office. 2 years later, I did. But the thing about it is that learning about your community, how your community works, and it's so important that you learn about your community so you'll be able to, when something happens, you'll know who to call. You know, a lot of citizens, we don't know who to call if we don't get involved. So I'm glad to see you involved this morning. I'm glad for you to be here, and I am so proud of the fact that you're here. And April was shy. And so I started her off with Flower Mound. She said, "Can I start off with Flower Mound?" I said, "Yes," but I think she's coming along, Cindy. You just keep pushing her. And okay, thank you. And thank y'all for being here.
Commissioner Edmondson.
Bobby, can you turn my?
Thank you so much. It didn't want to work this morning. Well, like Commissioner Mitchell, I graduated from the Denton leadership class in 1988. So 88 was a really good year. And then after that, I went to the Metroport leadership class. It was actually when I was first running for commissioner, and it helped me learn a lot about the various communities in my precinct. I can't say enough good things about what you learn in these leadership classes, not just about who we are, but really who you are. It put in me, way back when, a desire to run for office at some point, and I hope it will do the same for some of y'all. But let us know if there's anything we can do to be of help to you, and thank you so much for your servant heart and for being here today.
Perfect, thank you. All right, we're glad to have you. Now, we're going to speak to y'all today at lunch or shortly thereafter, so I think that'd be great. Members, let's go to the consent agenda. Are there any items we'd like to pull off the consent agenda? Do we have a motion for approval? We have a motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Our consent agenda today is item 2A, approval of order making appointments in any appropriate action, and item 2B is approval of the intradepartmental transfers and any appropriate action. Next is item 3A, approval of a resolution recognizing Marlon Chung's retirement and any appropriate action. And we do have you here, Mr. Chung. Where are you? Good morning, sir. If you'll please come down front here, and we will. How are you doing? If you'll stand right there, and you'll be able to speak at our, right there behind the podium, right there. Right there. There we go. And we got a microphone. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
We're excited to have you. So I'm going to read this proclamation, and then we'll be able to extend any comments. We'll give you the last word, okay? So you could have any extend any comments you so desire. This is a resolution honoring Marlon Chung for 16 years of service to Denton County. The Denton County Commissioners Court, Denton County, Texas, during a regular session on the 24th day of January 2023, considered the following resolution. Whereas Marlon Chung, senior application developer, will retire on January the 27th, 2023, after completing 16 years of exceptional service while working in the Denton County Technology Services Department. Whereas Marlon began his career with the Denton County Technology Services Department on October the 4th, 2006, Marlon has been a devoted and loyal employee with a great work ethic. And whereas Marlon has strong technical skills and is dependable, he has been a valuable asset on the application development team. He has set an example for others. And whereas during his time in the Technology Services Department, Marlon has never hesitated to take on challenging tasks and share his knowledge with others. He has been productive, and he has maintained excellent service to Denton County departments and its citizens. And whereas Marlon plans to enjoy his retirement by traveling to national parks, volunteering at church, and visiting his relatives and friends overseas. And whereas his dedication and hard work have been appreciated and respected by all, his dedication and dependability will be greatly missed. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Denton County Commissioners Court, Denton County, Texas, does hereby extend to Marlon Chung our sincere and grateful appreciation for his dedicated service to Denton County. We congratulate him on his well-earned retirement and extend our best wishes to him for continued success, happiness, and good health in the years to come. Done in open court this 24th day of January 2023 upon a motion made by?
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Williams. Second by Commissioner Edmondson. Is there any comments?
No, thank you, sir. I appreciate your 16 years of dedication to the county.
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate your years of service to the county. And, I think we've always been dependent upon our computer systems here at the county, and the app development department is key, and they do so many things in-house. And I think that's important to know. They do so many things in-house to help repair issues, create systems and processes, and really help the efficiency and really help the Denton County taxpayer fully with the investments we make in your department and that you make in our system. So thank you so much. Would you like to extend any comments?
Yeah, I just want to say it's my pleasure to work with county under the Kevin Carr and the Booty. In the past 16 years, I enjoy working with the county. I think I have several previous jobs. I think the county is the best place I'm working for.
Oh,
I really
great.
enjoy working here, but I need to think about my other future life, so I decided to retire and try to enjoy the last quarter of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to say I would really enjoy working here. Thank you.
Perfect. Brian, would you like to say anything? We got Brian.
Yeah, today's a bittersweet day.
Use a mic right there.
Today's a bittersweet day. We're losing a fantastic employee who's been here 16 years. He has affected directly and indirectly every county employee and the citizens throughout the county through the applications and the interfaces that he has designed and created throughout his tenure here. So like I said, it's a bittersweet day, and we wish him well. Enjoy the state parks, and then don't be a stranger.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, well, congratulations. Any other comments?
I just want to thank you for your service. I teased him a while ago and asked him who told him he could leave.
Yeah.
And he laughed. But, thank you for your service here, and thank you for wanting to go and do other things. We spend our lives on jobs, and we don't get to visit out and go to other places and do other things. But enjoy your time and enjoy your retirement, and always know you have a family here at Denton County.
I'd like to echo what Commissioner Mitchell said. I have no idea what you do. I understand that y'all do all these magical things with binary numbers, but I do appreciate what y'all do. Thank you so much. We have a great IT department here at Denton County, and it's great that you were a part of it. I'm sure we'll miss you, but good luck in your future endeavors, and come back and tell us what your favorite state park was.
Yeah, I will.
Perfect. All right. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Are we standing back up there? Yeah, we got the department.
Yeah.
that's, you heard him say that the county was the best place he's ever worked, and we hear that so many, what? Yeah, you echo that. So that's great. Well, next I'd like to welcome Bill Kruger forward. Bill, if you'll come forward. This is for item 3B. This is a presentation regarding the findings of the feasibility study of a potential new exposition center in Denton County to drive new economic development, increase tourism, and provide expanded opportunities for local residents and any appropriate action. And as a matter of background, this is something that this feasibility study has been quite a ways in the works. We've been working on this and the thought of this, and I want to tell Bill and his team thank you from CSL, that's the Convention Sports and Leisure, and they've spent a considerable amount of time working through a feasibility study here, and the Commissioners Court is excited to hear the results of your good efforts. So go right ahead, Bill.
Great. Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Great to be back in Denton County. Apologize for bringing the Chicago weather down here.
You're forgiven.
It's good to be back, though. So yes, Judge, it's been a very involved process. I'm going to go through a slide deck, and I want to make this as valuable as possible for you and for the commissioners. So any questions that pop in your head, let's just talk about it as we go through it, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
I've got a lot of dense information here, so you're going to see a lot of information that I'm going to try to pick some key points out of a couple of these slides. But if you want to stop and go through some of the information in more detail, just let me know, and then we can kind of dig into some of those questions that you may have. So let's see here. Okay, well, as you mentioned, Judge, this is a feasibility study for a multi-purpose facility at a future expo center in Denton County. So our charge was pretty broad. Just the second bullet on this list here, you know, I've got 27 years experience in the feasibility consulting industry. I've been with my firm for 27 years. We're actually headquartered in Frisco, so we've got a large staff in Frisco. I'm actually out of the Chicago office, specialize in this exact kind of a project. The charge that we had was fairly broad. So it was looking at an event facility complex. So the county was assembling some land off of I-35 in the north part of the county, a very large assemblage of land. And frankly, when we first came into town and with all the different tours and the different stakeholder meetings that we had at the outset of the project, you know, we were surprised, just based on my experience, that a county so large with, you know, 1 million or so people lacked an event center, campus, or complex that would accommodate a lot of these types of events. There's a whole host of these kind of facilities throughout the greater metro area of Dallas-Fort Worth. But Denton County, other than the Embassy Suites Convention Center, which is a very high quality product, by the way, serving a niche within the high quality carpeted event space in terms of their convention product and a very high quality headquarter hotel project. But that's one type of event facility, and as you'll see as I go through this, there's lots of different types of events out there, and they each require different types of facility spaces in order to accommodate their activities. So most facilities that we look at around the country are trying to do lots of different things in terms of local events, but also non-local events. And non-local events are those that typically can attract people from outside the county that aren't residents of the county that can drive economic impact. And some of those will require overnight accommodations. So they're spending overnight and spending money in hotels and 3 meals a day and restaurant entertainment spending. And that's the reason why a lot of communities think about these kind of projects, is that they're both trying to serve a local need within the community for quality event space that best serves some of the local user groups, but importantly then the non-local contingent too, which is really driving new tourism, driving new economic impact to the community that can benefit a whole host of different industries and businesses within the community. So as a part of our effort, we started with that site visit, tour of some existing facilities within the county, met with lots of different stakeholders and other types of leaders within Denton County. And then once we finished that kickoff visit earlier last year, there were a whole host of different interviews that we conducted with actual event planners and promoters. You know, so having that dialogue and those questions with the actual planners and producers of events is really critical in terms of understanding what they think about the opportunity in Denton County, what they're looking for, and what their interest levels would be, and what their experiences are with other facilities within the area as well. So all that is very instrumental in terms of understanding the feasibility of a type of project like this. So all the components on the right-hand side really consisted what we normally drive through in terms of a feasibility study. So in looking at the location and site, so obviously you've got this massive metro area, one of the largest in the country. As you would expect, there's a very mature set of event facilities spread throughout the entire metro area. So the real question that communities like Denton County have around the country is, what do we have to tap into to compete for the business that's floating around the greater metro area, and are we getting our fair share of business right now based on the types of products that we have? And so that's really an important foundational question that we normally come into communities with. The targeted site is a very large site. You know, there's many communities that are thinking about, you know, a long-term plan to have some kind of a large expo center campus with multiple buildings serving multiple needs. And a lot of communities have those. Many of those, many communities smaller than Denton County have those. And usually you know, the challenge normally in a lot of places is trying to assemble a site of a minimum of 100 acres if you're talking about lots of different types of events, including equestrian and livestock and ag and convention and sports and all these kind of different types of events and activities. So the fact that you've already got 232 acres assembled in one contiguous location is a fantastic opportunity, assuming there's sufficient demand, and that's part of what we were looking for when we were doing our research and our interviews with different stakeholders. That being said, it's mostly an underdeveloped area, so whatever the strategy is out at this particular site in terms of investment, it should be married with a master plan where you're thinking about what are the opportunities to leverage private sector investment too, to create an opportunity that's really ripe for private investment to come in to build out some of the amenities and the pieces that would make a very productive long-term destination for events and for tourism and for local event activity. Population and demographics, obviously you just got a massive amount of population within a very tight driving radius. When we look at this, when we do this exercise in other communities that are thinking of the same things that you might be in terms of an event facility investment opportunity, you know, usually the demographics are much, much lower than this. And so you've just got a massive population. And so the question probably isn't so much, is there activity that we could get? It's really how competitive could we be with some of the other products that exist within the greater metro area. So when we start to look at, you know, obviously in a case like this, it's very important to understand what the mix and the inventory of event facilities are throughout the greater metro and how close is some of that competitive product to Denton County and the particular targeted site. So when you think about this first slide here, this is flat floor venues. And when I say that, normally you're thinking exhibition or convention space in particular. And the one thing that we noted you know, one product that I've been using in my research for other projects around the country has been this Embassy Suites Hilton Denton project, just because it's a very productive, successful case study for a public-private partnership that resulted in a very high-quality product, you know, both on the hotel side and then also the convention center side. So when you think about the convention products with serving Denton County, you know, our conclusion is that the Embassy is really fulfilling that need for the convention business that would be right-sized to fit Denton County for the high-quality carpeted space. So obviously that space isn't really suitable for a variety of different events, whether they be amateur sports or more of the exhibition trade show or more of the equestrian livestock ag, those kind of things like that. So importantly, you know, that's serving that particular market, and then you've got a wide variety of products that kind of exist beyond that when you get further out in terms of driving distance. So all these charts that you'll see here, you probably can't see a lot of the detail there, but they are sorted from distance to the particular site in terms of miles. So what we've noticed with a lot of these products is, given some of the lack of the economic build-out within the general site area, is many of these products are located a fairly long distance away from the particular site, which gives you a competitive advantage, assuming a lot of the pieces ultimately get built up as part of the greater site development plan. These are arenas and stadiums, so these are spectator events, entertainment events, or concerts and sports games and family shows and other things like that, where people are seated and they're watching some kind of an entertainment event. So the greater market area has a very mature array of products throughout the entire area. There aren't many really serving directly Denton County, though, in terms of those spectator entertainment, concerts, family shows, and sports games and sports events. You know, typically when you're talking about products like this, you'd be talking about an arena, a stadium, an amphitheater, a performing arts center, those kind of products, you know, an indoor arena. You know, there's a variety of those within the greater metro, so it's obviously important to have that direct dialogue with the promoters like Live Nation and AG and some of Feld Entertainment, some of those promoters like that, to see what the interest would be if we had a sufficient facility. But that being said, typically for those types of products, it's a fairly expensive construction cost, you know, for those types of products. There's opportunities to tap into that with a more affordable kind of a product, but ultimately thinking about all these different types of event products that are in the competitive marketplace and what the opportunities would be to compete for some of that in Denton County is important to kind of pick through each of these event type categories. These are other live music venues, some of the smaller ones and more of the theaters and amphitheaters, diversity of products throughout the entire metro. But again, the conclusion is that there are very few quality facilities located within Denton County. And so again, the surprise factor, given the fact that you've got a population of about 1 million people, that you do have some gaps within your county inventory of these facilities, is noteworthy. I mean, it's something that you wouldn't necessarily expect to have some of these gaps. And so again, that kind of leads into you know, a little bit of a foreshadowing here in that there are some significant opportunities to compete for that business because you don't have some of those products within the county itself. And then amateur sports, you know, so another product that's really been taking off in terms of trends has been the indoor amateur sports, but also the outdoor amateur sports. This chart is only focusing on the indoors. So if you think about multi-court facility that's really optimized for sports tourism, so basketball tournaments, volleyball tournaments, some of them have indoor turf as a part of that too, to be doing some of that indoor training. You know, those are being built out. If you think about just over in Frisco, Fieldhouse USA, you know, and some other products like that, that are very productive. They tend to have a very high return on investment within the tourism industry by virtue of what they cost to build and the fact that many of them can cash flow positively, so they can be profitable, and they can draw in private sector investment as well, and then they can drive in a lot of tournaments. So on the weekend is a tournament activity, and midweek is more of the local usage, so the sports and recreation and league play and camps and clinics. But then the weekend would be the tournament activity, and they can be very productive again in terms of bringing in hotel room nights and teams and tournaments on the weekend in particular. So there's some gaps within, you know, some opportunities that at least by looking at the inventory here would suggest some opportunities there. So when you think about different types of products, this image here, this graphic, if you think about the blue is sports-related facilities that really accommodate sports well. You've got performances, live performances in the purple. You've got more of the meetings and conferences and conventions and exhibitions in the red. So oftentimes where communities are looking to create some kind of a catalyst project that can really maximize utilization, where a greater market area may have some very dedicated products like the real big arenas or the real big stadiums or the big amphitheaters or the convention center products, et cetera, that tend to be more dedicated, you know, in terms of the types of space they've got and the types of activities they really target. Many communities, you know, can find a lot of productive utilization when you think about flexibility and being more multi-purpose and having that as your foundation building when you're thinking about investment. So when you look at kind of the middle of the convergence of these three different bubbles, You see facilities like multi-purpose event facilities. You see arenas and coliseums, and you see some of these that are starting to gravitate towards that middle where they may not be a perfect fit for a certain segment of conventions or sports or performing arts, but at least they can accommodate a variety of those, and they can really maximize the different types of events and activities that they're being utilized. Yes, Commissioner?
Based on what I'm hearing from other parts of my precinct, can you play pickleball in something like this?
Oh, absolutely.
Pickleball is the thing these days.
Pickleball is absolutely off the charts. Yeah, I was just kicking off a project in Palm Springs, California last week, and pickleball was the hot topic of conversation for the entire 3 days. So it's all over the place. It's you know, some new contracts have been signed with the professional pickleball groups recently, and it's something that we always look for. So if you think about, let's just say you've got a real flexible, large 50,000 square foot or so indoor space without columns, high ceiling, you have the ability to do lots of different courts in there where you could be doing, you know, allowing that for local recreational pickleball play, but also league play, and even get into some of the tournaments. And, you know, most indoor facilities that have that flat floor provide a great foundation to really go after that kind of business.
Thank you.
Okay. So again, the pros and cons of flexibility are that normally if you're talking about a master plan that's got a phased approach where you want to create an anchor facility first, where you've got that in that starts building up the brand, the site, the destination, and you're getting a productive use at that particular site, and then you have a phased project that can build out the rest of the site with outdoor fields maybe, some other buildings to create a more complete campus of products. So you've got this event center destination as an example. Usually the foundation has to be this highly productive from the very outset, flexible building that can really be doing a lot of those things. So pickleball, trade shows, consumer shows, entertainment, concerts. There's ways to do that. It may not be a perfect fit for certain things. Let's say like a top tier concert. You know, they're going to look for more of the stadiums and the arenas, but certainly some concert acts and some tier 3 kind of concerts. You know, if you had the right types of amenities and seating, retractable seating as an example, and staging and things like that, any kind of an indoor environment that has the right amenities and configuration set up could be doing a wide variety of different events, and that's usually what communities are looking for. So emerging facility and site trends. Now coming out of COVID, you know, most facilities when you're thinking about design and planning are thinking about a lot of these things increasingly. You know, it's really kind of exacerbated some of the conversation about making sure that you can be doing virtual and real-life hybrid events that are kind of a combination of that, so making sure that your facility has technology that's set up that way. You know, thinking outside the box too. It's not all about the 4 walls and a ceiling. It's about, you know, how can we create this attractive you know, destination and site that's got some signature outdoor spaces too to be able to break out into. Walkable districts. You know, a lot of this emphasizes the fact that you are thinking about a strategy that's not just, let's just drop money and build a building and just set it out in the middle of a field. You need to think about the plan about, you know, what spaces are those that we're going to potentially incentivize private sector investment, you know, to get the retail and the entertainment and the hotels and things like that as a part of your product. Because really, you know, the hope would be that you would have a greater destination where people could be driving to it, park, and then they wouldn't have to be continually getting back in their car to do other things they need to do in and around the event, right? So you want to have some of those amenities and those pieces as a part of the long-term plan. Emerging event types. Amateur sports is the top one on the left there. Those are, you know, if you just look at that particular project or that picture right there, that's really a large exhibition facility. And then they just lined up, you know, 24 different sport court surfaces, and they're doing a big volleyball tournament. So if you think about the numbers of people and families and athletes that are brought into to the community that wouldn't otherwise be there, that are spending money in hotels and restaurants and retail offerings and entertainment within the community, that's a lot of money that's being dropped within the community and most weekends throughout the year. So that's a really lucrative business that a lot of communities are vying for with projects that tend to be either the indoor or the outdoor amateur sports variety complexes. Esports is big. Everybody's talking about that, just like pickleball. Esports is another thing that lots of communities are talking about. You've got a couple esports facilities within the greater marketplace, but if you have a flexible building, you can be doing those kind of events within a building like this. So a variety of other things that are kind of gaining traction that we're seeing as emerging event types that are accelerating at a lot of markets around the country are shown here. So when we extend our net to the entire country and look at some comparable facilities to, many of these projects here are ones that I've worked on from the feasibility stage and they're up and running. The Waco facility, the base project at the Extraco Event Center is one that I did the study for, and it's recently opened. It's very productive. It's about 53,000 square feet of indoor space, and it's a very flexible building that's got amenities and multi-purpose nature that's really complementing what they're doing at their campus there. And so that's a pretty nice case study.
And that's a new phase. That was a phased-in approach, because original, their Coliseum opened in '53, but this was a new event.
Yeah, the Extraco Events Campus, the Heart of Texas Fair, and they kind of did it in the reverse order from what we're suggesting, which is, in their case, they felt like they were really missing out on having this high-quality indoor facility that could be very flexible and do lots of different types of activities to complement more of the dedicated equestrian and spectator and entertainment facilities that they already had at the Extraco Event Center. So this product was really kind of a linchpin to be able to allow them to get into sports tourism, the tournaments, the sports tournaments, but the trade shows, and to complement some of the other larger events that they were doing on the campus. So again, that's kind of the reverse of what we'd recommend here in terms of a phased approach, where the phased approach in your particular case would be more or less the flexible multi-purpose indoor building first, and then you could have other pieces that could go along with that I'll talk about here shortly. So just as an example to kind of show you, an example of some of these from an image basis, if you look at the Enid, Oklahoma in the upper left-hand corner of that chart, that's an example of a relatively new, very flexible building. So instead of looking more like a basketball arena or a hockey arena first, it's more like an exhibition center, but a multi-purpose building, where they have this really, at the time when they built it and designed it, very state-of-the-art, flexible, retractable seating system that could retract seats on all four sides of the wall. And then if you don't need those seatings for a seated event, you could retract them back into the wall, pull a cover over it so it doesn't feel like you're in a gymnasium, right? So you won't see any of the seats, and it will feel more like an exhibit hall depending on the event. So that's what we're seeing in terms of kind of a leading edge design, is having a facility space that can be doing a variety of different types of events, but you've got the amenities and the capabilities and the equipment to be able to do that on a plug-and-play basis, to convert it for the particular event very flexibly, on a case-by-case basis. And so that's been a very productive asset in Enid. So the Ranch Events Complex in Loveland, Colorado is an example of a phased approach to these building products, where they've got, you kind of chip off all the boxes, and they've got, the latest plan with our master plan that I was involved with has now the addition of the sports tourism aspects, but they had the spectator entertainment and sports arena, they had the equestrian livestock ag facilities, they had the exhibition center, they actually had another public-private partnership for an embassy and embassy suites and a convention center in Loveland, right there on the campus. So they had all those pieces at the campus, with the exception of the sports and recreational component, and that's one of the latest efforts that they're pushing forward with, in addition to some other improvements with some of their equestrian and livestock pieces as well. So again, though, it shows kind of a best practices approach to a phased approach to building a greater event or an expo center campus or a complex as a part of that. And all these other pieces too just show some inherent flexibility. That's one of the last visual images of the base at the Extraco Event Center in Waco, the exterior of that, but again, very large facility, very flexible on the inside of it. A lot of numbers up there. This is demographics. Looking at all the comparable facilities that we analyzed as a part of this, I mean, importantly, when you rank these based on the 60-mile demographic statistics, Denton County is very high on the list, and obviously Fort Worth and Allen, Texas, too. You know, you've got those at the very top of the list, too, and you're very close to that. So it's you know, this tells you that all these other facilities that are up and running right now with products that are similar to what you may be talking about, many of them have lower demographic characteristics than what Denton County has. So again, you've got
This is inserting us into nationally. This is correct. This is
a comparable set of national facilities that we looked at as a part of our analysis.
and where we would fit.
Yep, and where you would fit. So when you rank that from the top to the bottom, sorted by the 60-mile drive time. So when you look at population, companies, average household income, you know, you're at the third ranking, which with each of those among all these other communities that have products similar to what we're talking about here. So very strong demographics. A lot of wording here. I'll just kind of hit some of the high points. So as a part of that, what I mentioned before is more than 200 organizations were targeted for our interviews, you know, in terms of asking them direct questions about what their opinion of Denton County is, and many of these are, you know, state and regional and national pieces of business, you know, within a variety of different event sectors. We looked at, over on the left-hand side there, promoted entertainment events, concerts, family shows, ice shows, motocross and monster trucks and those kind of entertainment events that are ticketed entertainment spectator events. Had a conversation with a variety of promoters within that segment. We looked at exhibitions and other types of flat floor events like trade shows and exhibitions and consumer shows. We looked at equestrian livestock agriculture events. We talked about that. Amateur sports and others, so the sports tourism, the tournaments, basketball, volleyball, wrestling, dance, cheer, pickleball, go right down the list. There's lots of those kind of events out there, and a lot of families throughout the entire country spending a lot of money to send their kids to tournaments, you know, outside of their local markets. So overall, you know, what we did notice is there are a variety of products, obviously, with a market this big, with the greater market, that are serving each of these markets in varying degrees of success and penetration. We're lacking those kind of facilities other than the convention aspect and other, you know, within Denton County itself. So overall, what this is leading us to is there is demand, and we did note demand from a variety of different sectors, is that some kind of a product that is multi-purpose, flexible, would really be the appropriate foundation for investment initially. Instead of coming out of the gate and building, you know, a brand new arena or a coliseum first, or building a large sports complex first, having this flexible multi-purpose building seems to make the most sense from a phase one, where you could really tap into and penetrate into a wide variety of different event segments. And certainly, you know, there's enough evidence that there's a foundation of business out there that there's no reason why you shouldn't be successful relative to other products around the country if you have the right type of product. And so what that means in terms of what kind of product are we talking about, let me just stop on this first. So, you know, the key conclusions would be that sufficient market demand exists. It's a first phase for a larger expo center project. We're talking highly flexible multi-purpose building, you know, recommended to maximize utilization. High demand segments that align with a new expo center, a new multi-purpose facility would be the appropriate first phase. Again, though, emphasizing the fact that it's the first piece of a phased vision for a greater destination. And there's other pieces, if you look at the very bottom bullet there, in terms of different phases. So the logical phasing of this would be a multi-purpose facility first as a phase one. Then you got a phase two with the development of additional equestrian livestock ag facilities, plus outdoor fields. You know, one other thing that we noted is that there's a lack of some of these high quality tournament field complexes within the county and within the area of the greater metro here. So those tend to be very highly productive, and usually the constraint there is where do you find 100 acres to drop in 12-plus large, full-size rectangle fields, you know, or 12 to 14 or 20, whatever the number would be. You've already got a lot of that land within the area. So it makes sense from a phased approach to think about, you know, if you think about the rectangle fields, which can be doing obviously soccer, but football, lacrosse, and lots of other of those kind of sports, you know, the state of the industry around the country is, you know, it's having some semblance of synthetic turf as a part of that, you know, so to make sure that you've got the ability to execute tournaments, you know, without having rainouts or having to rest fields and things like that. You don't necessarily have to build all the synthetic turf, but it would be something where you'd be maybe a selection of 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 fields that may be synthetic turf, and the rest would be grass. You could always turf those at a later date, but again, those are pieces of a larger Expo Center campus complex that a phased approach could ultimately get you there. And then as the entire site and the business operation is built up, a future phase could also potentially include a coliseum or an arena, you know, something where you've got more of a dedicated live entertainment venue or sports venue to be able to capitalize on a more traditional arena or a coliseum type project. So when we're talking about this first phase, this multi-purpose facility, you know, this is really what we're seeing. This is, you know, a concept designed by Populous, which is an international architect of event facility products and sports and entertainment and equestrian livestock ag. You know, when you think about all the different types of opportunities, if you design this facility right, when in this particular case we're talking about the dimensions of about a 55,000 square foot indoor space, and you see the length and width there. But you've got lots of different types of activities you could be doing. You know, as a part of this, you know, the assumption is that you would have amenities and equipment package that would be considered an enhanced FF&E package that would allow you to lay down sport court or to have the retractable seats that you could roll in or roll out of the wall. And you've got some of the staging, and you've got nets that can drop down between courts or between different turf areas and things like that. You know, there's lots of different things you can be doing in there, everything from the exhibitions to more the fair activities and concerts, you know, depending on how you arrange that. You know, so there's this type of concept is one that has really been gaining legs over the last, you know, 5-10 years around the country as a part of a design concept to really maximize flexibility without constraining too much your ability to cross over into different event categories. Because, you know, obviously if you're talking about the largest concerts or the largest tournaments or the largest conventions, this building is going to be too small, but it also may not have exactly the right types of configuration or amenities or layout of the floor or layout of the ceiling that you might get in more dedicated facilities, but this really provides a good foundation. So if you think about the phasing of it, of a overall vision or a campus like this, you've got, over on the left there, you've got more of the delineation of the program for this multi-purpose facility. So 55,000 square feet or so of the indoor column-free concrete floor event space. You've got some additional ancillary breakout meeting rooms. You've got some square footage of support space, back of house. So it really lands you at about 100,000 square foot gross square foot building overall in terms of what the actual footprint would look like. And you've got the ceiling height, and then you've got the ability to have retractable seating to accommodate, you know, potentially with floor seating up to 4,000 people, you know, within a building like that for a seated event. And then you got the sports and recreation FF&E that you could add into there and some parking needs as well. But from a phased approach then, ultimately, as other pieces get built up, let's just say phase 2 would be more of the equestrian livestock ag facilities to create this, you know, long-term future campus for all those kind of activities. Right now, many of them are hosted at the North Texas Fair and Rodeo campus right now, but looking at that facility and looking at the needs of those events and the state and the condition of many of those facilities out there, many of the products built around the country and throughout the state are very high quality equestrian livestock and ag that tend to be expensive projects, but ultimately as a future phase for this overall campus, this would be a great location, a great amount of acreage that you've got to be able to do these different pieces with a phased approach for that. And then you still would have land available to incentivize or to master plan out some of the other amenities, the hotels and the restaurants and the retail as a part of that. But as additional phases of the event facility projects get built up in future years, this multi-purpose building is a great candidate to be converted to more of a dedicated exhibition facility, as you've got more of the entertainment and the sports pieces that may be built up at future times. So where it starts being a true multi-purpose flexible building, it can convert then, like a lot of these expo center campuses that we see around the country, where they have all these facilities and they tend to be more dedicated and niche spaces, more or less, than trying to do everything at once. But that being said, you know, this multi-purpose facility concept is really best practices approach to thinking about the initial phase coming out of the gate. So order of magnitude construction costs for this phase one building, you know, there would be more architectural and costing exercise involved with that, but a kind of an order of magnitude would be something that may be close to $40 million to create this high quality product that could really kickstart the overall event center concept plan. And then you've got a potential field complex, you know, a hypothetical soccer complex, again, 12 tournament quality fields, maybe half would be synthetic turf, and then half would be grass. And that usually that would require, you know, based on if you had a 12 tournament quality field, about 55 acres of the overall program. But again, going back to this multi-purpose facility, the building itself is only about 100,000 gross square feet. And so it's not going to be tying up in a large amount of space within the greater site. So you've got, assuming that's placed right and all the other pieces with future phases are built out, you've got plenty of room to be able to grow and to add these other elements and layer them in future years. Lots of numbers here. I'm not going to go through a lot of that, but this just shows you us when we're trying to model the performance of this facility. This is just the phase one multi-purpose facility, but doing a wide variety of events within the public and consumer show market, trade shows, conferences, amateur sports and recreation, the ag animal fair events, meeting, banquets, receptions, civic, miscellaneous. So when you're thinking about total number of events, you know, 174 is what we're estimating for a stabilized year. And when you look at attendance over in the far right under year 4, you know, we're projecting that they would draw in close to 250,000 people on an annual basis in terms of activity. A portion of them would be non-local, a portion of them would be local. So the non-local people that are drawn in, a big majority of them wouldn't otherwise be in Denton County. So every dollar they spend within the county or within the community as a part of their visit to attend this event or participate in an event is net new economic impact for the county. It's benefiting industries and constituents and taxpayers throughout the entire county. If you think about, you know, how do other areas within the county that are removed from the site location and the periphery of the county, how would they benefit from a project like this? You know, it's clear that, you know, some of the businesses that are closest to the event venue would receive the most obvious and immediate impacts from a project like this, but compression of hotel room night demand and the elevation of greater economic activity and the reputation and the exposure of the community to groups and to tourists and to visitors that wouldn't otherwise be in the county can benefit a whole host of different areas.
Bill, will you explain the compression phenomenon that happens?
Yeah. So let's just say you've got 1,500 hotel room nights that are associated with a big, large basketball or volleyball tournament that you're attracting to your new building. As a part of that, usually those tournaments are planned out and hotel room nights are booked far in advance of much of your transient and your leisure and your corporate transient hotel room nights, right? So like me, I booked my hotel last week. You know, so that's a short-term booking for a hotel as a person coming to Denton County. Those tournaments may be booked out 6 months to a year in advance in terms of their hotel room nights. So what happens is the headquarter hotels for the event will fill up first, but normally those hotels will be doing a fair amount of transient and corporate and leisure business and group business that then wouldn't have, you know, that hotel would be filled, and so then the compression starts shooting out to nearby hotels, and it's kind of that cascading effect where you've got compression to outlying hotels in terms of the hotel room night demand. And that's just on the hotel side, but the same thing can apply to bringing in tourism and having economic activity that's elevated by virtue of the events and the visitors that are drawn to the community throughout a variety of different types of industries. Does that answer your question, Judge?
Yes.
Okay. So financial operations, the important takeaway from this is when we project, initially this building as this phase 1 building, as a stabilized year, we're talking about revenues and expenses and a net operating loss of about $240,000. When you look at buildings like this around the country, that operating deficit is favorable relative to what we see in a lot of other buildings. Oftentimes you'll see operating deficits that need to be subsidized by the facility owner, usually city or county government, by the tune of $500,000 or $1 million in terms of an annual subsidy that's required to keep the doors up and running. The reason why communities invest in projects like this is for the economic return, the economic impact, the new visitation, the new tourism, the quality of life aspects that you can't really attribute a number to, but are very important nonetheless. And so many communities are willing to deal with or absorb operating subsidies of $500,000 to $1 million annually in perpetuity in exchange for having this high quality product that can attract visitors and accommodate local events. So the fact that your deficit is projected to be pretty low is a testament to the high quality, flexible nature and the high utilization that we're projecting for a building of this nature. And it's something that should improve. As additional phases get built up, you get economies of scale, you get synergy, and then you should have this situation where the financial performance is improving over time as more investment takes place at the site and the site destination evolves and matures and gets built out. Economic impacts, a fair amount of numbers here, but again, if you look at the stabilized year 4 of operations, $33 million per year in direct spending, indirect spending, and induced spending. So that's called economic output. Those are by visitors that's money, the vast majority of that money is money that doesn't currently exist in Denton County. So that's spending mostly by visitors, whether they're day trippers that are driving into Denton County to attend an event and spending money within the county, or overnight guests that are coming in, staying at the hotel, doing 3 meals a day and other types of activities in the county as a part of their stay. That's net new economic impact that can be very important for a variety of different industries throughout the entire county. The hotel industry spending in particular, $9 million per year in incremental net new spending within hotels. Again, the compression that the judge mentioned, that a wide variety of hotels throughout the county should be able to benefit from. They may not they may not realize or recognize it. If you're a hotel, you're located at the opposite end of the county, and guests that are checking in or reserving a room at the hotel may not say, I'm here for this event taking place at the new Expo Center campus. But nonetheless, the compression is a real thing. When you have visitors coming in the community, they have to stay somewhere. Given that the site is relatively centrally located within the county, they're going to spread out most of their hotel room demand nearby the site, and then the rest of the demand of hotel demand is going to compress then elsewhere throughout the county.
And compression increases the room rate too. I mean, it's a supply and demand effect. So instead of lower priced rooms, there's a supply and demand. There's a shortage of rooms, and those go up, which helps the hoteliers as well and the cities.
You got it. This is the last slide. So just kind of a summary of some of the key metrics as we see them. This is these are annual numbers, and this is the economic impact. The number of events, attendance, room nights, the operating revenues and expenses. This product is what we're modeling and estimating it to be a very productive product and a strong foundation for a broader vision of an Expo Center campus. And we certainly think that there's demand that this thing would be very productive right out of the gate. And, it could lead to an exposure of Denton County and all it has to offer by lots of different people and visitors that wouldn't have otherwise spent time in Denton County. And so that can go a long ways indirectly to continue to enhance the brand of your community and drive new economic impact and quality of life issues. That was my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, I think you did a great job. Bill, would you mind going back to the chart that showed the national rankings, where those 3 columns where we were kind of third? And go over that a little bit more, kind of explaining that. I think that's important to see. It's interesting we're number third in all of those, but could you go through and explain to this? And as we were talking the other day, you're quite surprised that we don't have one of these based on our demographic income and the current population of the county and the lack of other similar resources here in the close proximity. Could you kind of go through that a little bit?
Sure. Well, the center point for the drive times here, so 15 minutes from, other than Denton County, each of these represent the actual event building that was the comparable project that we identified. And so the numbers over there, you look at Allen, Texas. If you just go back to the previous slide, Allen is the number 1 on this list. So this is, those numbers over there in the blue represent the 14 different comparable projects that we evaluated. So each of these products here that are up and running, many of them I have some background information on because I was involved with a number of these. But each of these 14, when you go to the demographic ranking and slide in Denton County with the site, the targeted site of the 262 acres that the county owns as the center point for Denton County, and then do the 15-minute drive time, the 30-minute drive time, 60-minute, 90-minute, and then you rank them with all these other 14 comparable facilities, Denton County is very high on the list, and it's usually when I'm doing a feasibility study for a product like this, that subject market would normally be much lower on the list, especially when we're talking about having, Dallas, Fort Worth population kind of in play here with a lot of the market draw. But the fact that, you go from, it shows a little bit of the remoteness of the site right now, which again underscores the importance to have a plan to make sure that the right types of amenities, hotel, restaurants, retail, entertainment, eventually evolve nearby the site or at the site. So the 15-mile population and things like that, suggests that. But then once you start getting out to 30-minute and 60-minute, it's not that much to ask someone to drive an hour to get to an important marquee event that they want to attend, right? So it's not out of the realm of possibility. When you go to other places around the country, like I do projects where, even out the 90-minute calculation of population, you may have something that's well less than 1 million people, but you've got, close to 9 million people that you're have the ability to draw from within a convenient drive. Some places are much more remote and they don't have that same benefit. So again, this gets back to, if you design and invest in the right type of product, there should be plenty of different types of activities and events and people that you could draw from within this population draw.
Perfect, good. Commissioner Edmondson.
Well, I feel kind of like Goldilocks. It looks like Allen is too far east and Fort Worth is too far west and Denton County is just right. But I also have a question based on our neighbor to the south, Dallas County, who is now going through a big renovation of both Fair Park and the K. Bailey Hutchison Convention Center. What is the life expectancy on this kind of a facility before it has to be upgraded, redone, et cetera?
Yeah, and it, for this kind of facility, I mean, normally, if you talk about a professional sports arena, just as a contrast for a second, if you talk about a NBA or NHL arena, their lifespan 50 years ago used to be a 30-year lifespan, but now they've been shrinking quite a bit. Facilities like this, though, with the design where they're multi-purpose, that they accommodate a wide variety of events, their lifespan can be well more than 30 years, with investment that continues to upgrade and update. And if you think about, many high-quality full-service hotels as an example, if they have a constant plan for property improvement where they're investing into their products, they can maintain a very productive, successful product for many, many decades to come. So something like this, again, the hope would be that as you phase out the overall Expo Center campus of different buildings and products, that this building will start off trying to be the jack of all trades and be really the most flexible, multi-purpose thing that can do a whole host of things. But as other pieces come online, you could stop relying so much on having this be everything to everybody, and you can convert it to more of a dedicated flat floor exhibition, trade show, or amateur sports kind of a use, where you've got other facilities that kind of build that out. So over time, there's no reason why it shouldn't be able to last, 30 years if you put enough improvement and repairs and maintenance into it.
And Market Hall in Dallas was built in 1960, and it's going strong. So, I mean, so that's a similar open floor plan concept.
Yeah, and this kind of a product is very different too,
Yeah.
in that if you built an arena that's, there's always evolving trends with, okay, sight lines and what's the slope of the seating and what kind of technology and scoreboard and amenities.
Suites
and premium seating, yeah. I mean, this is really just a flexible box that's designed correctly without columns, that has the right kind of nets and rigging capability within the ceiling and the right type of loading, where not much is going to change with respect to how the industry evolves over the next decades. It's still just more or less a box, but a high-quality, flexible box. Right?
Commissioner Falconer.
Yes, thank you, Judge. Great presentation, thank you. Especially when we look at this slide and how we compare it, and I'm sure your model takes into it, but it's complex, right? That depending on the event, how far someone will go, right? That our competitive set in some ways is not just within 60 minutes, right? It could be hours, right, for certain things. So does your model take all of that into account? And then on top of that, how those other facilities would draw from our potential?
Yeah, that's a really good question. If I go back to some of these competitive facilities, so when you look at this one as an example, these are, some of the major arenas and stadiums, and this is only the top 21 based on the distance to Denton County. If you extend that further, past 94 miles, you're going to get other types of products like that. But if you think about some of these, like Will Rogers or Fair Park, or some of the biggest arena facilities you've got, the Texas Motor Speedway, that's going to, for certain marquee events, they're going to draw nationwide, even internationally, right? So it really depends on the events, and we always scale that down. We look at the competition, we talk to the event planners and promoters and say, what are we talking about? If you think about an indoor amateur sports facility, like you think about some of these facilities right here. So as far as the midweek stuff that they're doing, which is going to be local sports and rec leagues, camps and clinics and practices and training, those are really drawing locally, right? They're drawing from a very tight area around the building. But when it comes to the tournaments, if you've got, the ability to do 8 full-size basketball courts under a single roof, you're going to be able to draw, particularly given the amenities of this greater metro area and all the hotels and all the transportation access and the airports that you've got, those high-quality, multi-court amateur sports facilities can really be drawing tournaments from around the country. Right. You can get some of the real top, talented, elite tournaments coming in there. So again, when we're talking about our Phase 1 multi-purpose facility, you're not a dedicated niche facility at the outset, so there aren't going to be necessarily a whole bunch of these national draws initially. As you build out over a phased approach, the overall campus, there's no reason why if you didn't have the right facilities, let's just say equestrian, livestock, and ag, where all of a sudden you could now be another complementary equestrian or horse kind of or livestock or something like that, kind of a event campus in the future. If you have the right types of facilities that make up those kind of campuses, you're never going to be Will Rogers, because you're not going to be that big, you're not going to have that history, and you're not going to have all the different facilities and the different event profile. But there's lots of events that are smaller that are still national or regional in scope that you could draw from. Now, if you had this flexible indoor multi-purpose building, if you had portable hardwood courts as an example, And you were able to lay those out for a period of a month during peak season of basketball or volleyball tournaments. And you had the nets that pull down and some seating area and the right types of team rooms or locker rooms as a part of your project. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able to do pretty big tournaments from the state bases, you know, where people would be willing to drive long distances or even jump on a plane if you had the right type of tournament at the right price point, where, you know, it would be a different story if you just had this big box with concrete floor and then you're trying to get tournaments to come in and you didn't have the flooring or the equipment or the capabilities, right? So that's why we're suggesting when you build this multi-purpose building that a part of the capital purchase would include an enhanced FF&E package that allow you to be plug and play. So there will be not a ton of those events, but you could certainly get your fair share of some of them that could complement the overall package, and you could have both a profile of local driving people, but then also people driving in or flying in from longer distances.
That's good, and I think that helps me thinking about the weekday versus weekend, and my administrator was out of well over 100 miles away for a big volleyball event, right? So those things, you'll drive for those, but that's on the weekend. But then during the week, you can supplement with the local population. And then quickly, would you mind expanding just a little bit on the amenities that you mentioned, and that, and I'm assuming you're thinking that that's restaurants and potentially retail or other things that are there so that you're not just isolated, and how do you feel about the feasibility of those in this site?
Yeah, no, I think, you know, two of the things that jump out to me instantly is the fact that you've got a blank canvas. You can design the master plan in terms of what zones those would be popping up in. Just if you just look at what I've shown over here on the right, the bottom parcel, you can see this bottom parcel here. You know, this one hypothetical would be for greater site planning. This would be the multi-purpose facility, future expo center. It could have, you know, the phase 1 and phase 2, some of the phase 2 kind of buildings and campuses set up with parking. Maybe there's some retail and, you know, private investment options, you know, nearby the highway or on the other side. You've got maybe enough land here to do a 60, 70, or maybe even 100 acres of athletic fields, as an example. This could be some, you know, a pocket of more entertainment and hospitality. So hotels, you know, part of you know, the gun range that's up there right now, if that was repurposed for something, it'd be a nice little environment for an amphitheater too, you know, just in terms of the geography that you've got up there. But, you know, there's lots of different ways to do it. And the hope would be that over time you could have enough of this diversity of public and private pieces that now you've got this destination where people don't have to go to their 2-hour event and then drive, you know, 15 miles to get to something else to eat a meal or to stay at a hotel or something like that. You know, you've got, you know, lots of land to be able to plan that out appropriately, but that plan needs to start immediately. You not just think about this 4 walls and a ceiling building, but you're thinking about what's the greater plan for how these other pieces are going to grow up to really complement the overall site destination.
Great, thank you.
I think one of the important things to kind of put this in context, and Bill, you've done a great job of this, but is realizing that this would be built out in phases with multi-purposes, and the plans would evolve over time. And if you think in size comparison, that the Dallas Fair Park is 277 acres, and we have right now 223 acres with a possibility of an adjacent partnership for another 110 acres. So it's a good question that you made, but when you think about phasing and size and allowed uses and how to develop this over time, I think it's important to realize that there's plenty of room there for us to have a significant presence, whether it be buildings or outdoor facilities and so forth. So there's plenty of room. So there's not a site constraint per se, and that we do have the highway frontage, which is really important on I-35. So I think that's the highway frontage, the accessibility, and the plenty of room to really do a phased-in smart approach is really critical.
And Judge, I agree 100% on that. I think the phasing, as you just mentioned, it gives you that opportunity to flex as you recognize what are the real things that the demand that's there, instead of hey, we've planned this whole thing and built it all at one time.
Right.
Yeah, just as an example, if you look at the Loveland, Colorado, that top middle image, been involved with them for many years. They passed, in recent years, they passed another sales tax referendum to increase the sales tax, and they're gonna have another $300 million of public money flowing in to do some additional phases of their improvement expansion. So, with this campus, that's, 120 acres overall. And you've got more than that to begin with. And they've got their Larimer County Fairgrounds Equestrian Livestock Ag. They've got the convention space with the full-service hotel. They've got an AHL arena. The Budweiser Event Center is a spectator arena like a coliseum. They've got exhibition space. They've got community, civic, FF&A. They've got extension from university, buildings out there. They've got now this new recreational sports. They're talking about a 3-sheet ice complex and an aquatic center and some hardwood space. And then they've got along it, they've got right on the periphery of the, they had additional land that they turned over to the private sector, which then they, provided a land donation, and then all of a sudden now retail and mixed use is popping up right next to it, which is really going to be critical to help support the overall destination, because it is a little bit removed. But similarly in Loveland, it's right off the interstate, just like your site is, and that's really been key for visibility, for accessibility, to really create this this campus plan and vision leveraging public and private.
And as you're talking about, I think Loveland is a good example that it's built over time with lots of different users, and I think it's important. I know a lot of people have asked me about, are we building a facility for the fair? Is that a phase one? Is that what we're doing? And I think it's important to note that would be one of many uses, potentially be one of many uses that we have out there. But, coming out of the chute, the first thing, that may not be the very first thing that we do, because we want to have a more broad appeal, although that is a very vibrant and active, and it would really support our agriculture industry here, not only in the county, but also North Texas and the surrounding area. But, this would be something that the county owned. This would be a county facility, and that we would have lots of different users there throughout the year. So,
Judge,
yes,
one
ma'am.
thing that I found very appealing about our site is we've got plenty of room for parking, because it doesn't look like all these do, like the Loveland complex, for example. It's so important to these people who are going to drive, whether it's a short distance or a long distance. They don't have to walk for half an hour to get to wherever their event is going to be.
Exactly, yeah.
And Jody Gonzalez, our county administrator, has been working on this with all of us, so I would like to acknowledge him, see if he has any comments to add.
Thank you, Judge. And, I'd like to thank Bill for his cooperation on this and work. Also, as well as Eric Gildersleeve, project administrator for this study as well. But I want to say that, when we originally kicked this off, Bill and myself and Eric, we went through a lot of different partners throughout the county with this. So, I want to specifically thank a lot of our chambers that we visited with Chamber of Commerce, mayors, city managers, superintendents, and school districts. So those were a lot of the people that were investing partners in this that was part of this study that Bill reached out to and had multiple Zoom calls and conference calls and in-person and telephone calls with a lot of what we consider our partners in this as well. So we want to thank those people that participated in this study with us, the multiple cities across the county as well as our school districts.
Yeah, this was not done in a silo. This is why we hired what I would consider the best in the business to lead us and guide us through this process. And we wanted to clearly ask them, are we crazy as far as even considering this? And I think look at all the metrics that he went through today, that this would be a viable project, especially as it ranks up with other projects here in the Metroplex and Texas and nationally, as you outlined so clearly. And I guess I would like to thank Jody and Eric Gildersleeve for their efforts on this. And there was lots of education and input from across the county, like I say, the schools, chambers, I think one thing that's important is that CSL, that we need to mention, is that CSL reached out to people who actually plan events. Like, they have a very big Rolodex, and they said, would you come here to the county if we plan something like this? Is this something that you would, as a site, that you would consider? And they got positive feedback that they're presenting today. So thank you for also visiting with users inside and outside of the county that may come visit. Is there any other questions or comments from the members? Okay, then I will move to accept the report as presented. We have a second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any other discussion? We will take this. Thank you, Bill, for all your efforts, and we will take this report and we'll make some next steps accordingly based on your input. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to have a 10-minute recess and reconvene at about 9:35. 10:35. 10:35.
Got to say we're going backwards.
reconvene from our break. We do have a motion and a second on the floor regarding item 3B. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, let's go to item 4A, which is a public hearing to consider and approve the name change of a segment of Fish Trap Road from Legacy Drive to Gee Road and rename that segment of public road to First Street located in Denton County Commissioner Precinct 1. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
Move to open.
We have a motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We do have a public hearing. Is there anyone in attendance wishing to speak in favor of or opposed to the renaming of the road? Is there anyone in attendance wishing to speak in favor of or opposed to the renaming of the road?
Move to close.
All right, hearing none, we have a motion by Commissioner Williams to close the public hearing, second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to rename the road by Commissioner Williams.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next,
Thank
I'd
you,
like to go ahead.
No, thank you, Judge.
Oh, thank you. Next, let's go to item 13C. With Judge Beadle has been very patient this morning, and thank you, sir, for being here. Next is 13C, approval of request to submit a grant application to the Office of the Governor Criminal Justice Division for the fiscal year 2022 and 2023 and 2024 specialty court grant. This is our Veterans Treatment Court, in amount of $253,844, and any appropriate action, the chair will move for approval. Second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any discussion? Well, Judge Beadle, I want to thank you for all your efforts with this specialty court for our veterans. Y'all have
Thanks,
been
Judge.
quite successful. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
All right, members, do you have any other questions
No, sir.
or
Thank
comments?
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you for bringing this application forward. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
He got to
Thanks,
learn
Judge.
all about the Expo Center
Yeah.
today.
I know. That's why we held it off. Held him off.
All right. Let's go to item 5A, which is approval of the bill report payments from CSUD Community Corrections, TAIP, Sheriff's Training, Sheriff's Forfeiture, VIT interest, and DA forfeiture funds are presented for recording purposes only. Mr. May.
Thank you, Judge. I have no changes today. Recommend approval as presented.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have a motion by Commissioner Mitchell? Second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is item 6A, approval renewal of RFP number 20-2616, transportation of human remains to Howard Mortuary and North Syntex Crematory Services, and any appropriate action. Motion by Commissioner Mitchell, second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is item 6B, approval of renewal of bid number 22-2682. This is lubricants and oils to Southwest Distributing Company.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is item 6C, approval of specifications and authority to advertise RFP 22-2690 Enterprise Resource Planning. This is ERP software and implementation services, and appointment of an evaluation committee to include Jeff May, County Auditor, Alejandro Moreno, Budget Officer, Cyrus Haskell, Technology Services, Application Support Manager, Gustavo Hernandez, Director of Human Resources, Scott Arledge, Director of Purchasing, and Cindy H. Brown, our County Treasurer.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Edmondson, second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we're going to go over to 7C and do this one, and we'll come back and get the 6th item. 7C is approval of budget amendment request 100640 for the Sheriff's Office Judicial Purchases Department to transfer $52,815 in forfeiture funds from various line items to vehicle equipment to purchase ballistic glass and door inserts for patrol vehicles to improve the safety of deputies.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, let's go back to 6D, which is the approval of the purchase of the ballistic windshields and windows to be installed on 7 new patrol vehicles from Dana Safety, amount of $52,815 through the buy board Cooperative Contract 603-20 for the Sheriff's Office. Motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is item 7A, approval of budget request 100610 to transfer from Financial Information Systems Technology Software and Services to Appropriations Conferences of Urban Counties for $7,106 and Appropriations Tarrant Regional Transportation Coalition for $500 for a total of $7,606 to provide additional funds needed for annual dues and subscriptions. Motion by Commissioner Mitchell, second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 7B, approval of budget amendment request 100630 for the countywide technology to transfer $238,000 from technology equipment to technology software services to purchase maintenance for NetApp data storage equipment for fiscal year 2023. We have a motion by Commissioner Edmondson, second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 7D, approval of budget amendment request 100620 for Sheriff's Operations to transfer $14,349 from county vehicles unappropriated contingency to Sheriff's Operations vehicles to cover a price increase in upfitting equipment for patrol vehicles that were approved in the fiscal year 2022 budget and any appropriate action.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 7E, approval of budget amendment request 100650 for the Sheriff's Administration to transfer $4,300 from administrative supplies to maintenance management to cover the purchase of a maintenance plan for turning targets at the firearms range. Any appropriate action?
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 7F, approval of budget amendment request 100670 that will roll over funds for information security and technology services, public safety courts to fiscal year 2023 that were committed out of the fiscal year 2022 budget, but not be expended until after the fiscal year was closed out for a total amendment of $281,101.
Approved.
Motion by Commissioner Mitchell, second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, let's go to 8A, which is a report from Human Resource regarding hiring actions of elected officials. This is presented for recording purposes only. Gustavo.
Judge, Commissioners, good morning. We have 2 new hires in juvenile probation, 1 demotion in juvenile probation, 5 new hires in the sheriff's office, 1 new hire in the tax office, and 1 promotion in the tax office. That's it for this week.
Thank you, Gustavo. That's presented for recording purposes only. There'll be no action today under 13A. There'll be no action. 13B is approval of United Way of Denton County Incorporated funding request to fulfill the allocation of American Rescue Plan for housing assistance, nonprofit assistance, and food assistance due to COVID-19 and any appropriate action. Chair move for approval. Second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 13D. Approval of Amendment Number 1 to the FME Software License Agreement with Safe Software Incorporated as recommended by Kevin Carr, Chief Information Officer, and any appropriate action. Motion by Commissioner Edmondson, second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And next is 13E, approval of the service agreement with Consortec Solutions Incorporated for the implementation and training services for FME Performance Kit through reseller Micro Assist on the Texas Department of Information Resources DIR Cooperative Contract DIR CPO 5046 in the amount of $57,300 to come from auto line item 0166612075 Technology Services, Public Safety and Courts for implementation costs as recommended by Kevin Carr, Chief Information Officer. Motion by Commissioner Edmondson, second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Under legal is 14A, approval of the 2022-2023 interlocal cooperation agreements for fire protection services between Denton County, Texas, and the City of Corinth Lake City's Fire Department, the City of Highland Village Fire Department, the City of Roanoke Fire Department, Crum Fire Department, and the Town of Little Elm Fire Department. Motion by Commissioner Edmondson, second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 14B, approval of the 2022-2023 interlocal cooperation agreements for ambulance services between Denton County, Texas, and the City of Corinth Lake City's Fire Department Ambulance Services, City of Highland Village Fire Department Ambulance Services, City of Roanoke Ambulance Services, the Crum Fire Department Ambulance Services, and the Town of Little Elm Ambulance Services, and any appropriate action.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner
Second.
Williams, second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 14C, approval of the no-cost district office space at the Courthouse on the Square, suites numbers 303 and 304 between Denton County, Texas, and the Office of Administrative Counsel for the benefit of the Honorable Ronnie Jackson, Representative for Texas District 13 in the United States House of Representatives, which begins February the 1st, 2023, and ends January the 3rd, 2025. The chair will move for approval. Second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I want to thank Holly for all your efforts on all these leases. Next is 14D, approval of the agreement for architectural services between Denton County, Texas, the owner, and Architects Design Group ADG Incorporated, the architect, for the Denton County Emergency Operations Center, RFQ 22-2678, in the amount of $121,340 plus reimbursable expenses not to exceed $20,000 for Phase 1 programming, pre-design planning services, with funding to come from building projects, the 2019 API and refunding bonds, emergency SRV building project, order line item number 83-7555-9020, as recommended by the Denton County Purchasing Director.
Move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Falconer. The chair will second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Scott. Next is 14E, approval of change order number 1 to the software license and services agreement for the Mark 43 Incorporated for computer-aided dispatch and records management system, the RMS, for professional services in the amount of $124,480 and recurring annual fees in the amount of $87,480 to come from auditor line item 0166612075, as recommended by Kevin Carr, Chief Information Officer. Motion by Commissioner Edmondson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, let's go to item 17, which is our community updates. We'll start with Commissioner Precinct 1.
No, sir. No updates.
No updates, okay. Commissioner Falconer?
I think there's a couple of things going on. We've got in Carrollton Teens Takeover happening on the 27th at the library. Hebron and Josie, Coffee with a Cop this Saturday. Also 9 to 11 is a great time to go support our first responders in Little Elm. Ryan, you'll like this. It's pajama story time. You want to make sure and make it to that.
I'll be there.
It's a bad
January
visual.
26th, 6 to 6:30. And then
Make them that big.
And then in the colony, we have a virtual author talk on January 31st from 1 to 2.
Perfect, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Mitchell? She's on skip, all right. Go ahead, Commissioner Edmondson. All right, I got a couple things here. On Thursday, January 26th, the United Way of Denton County will be surveying people experiencing homelessness at the annual point-in-time count, and is asking for volunteers. So if you want to volunteer helping with that at United Way, various shifts are available. You can go to the UnitedWayDenton.org/point-in-time count. So that's an annual thing that we've been doing for many years, and so it's an important thing. So we're asking for help. Thursday, the January 26th, the Refuge for Women, North Texas, along with law enforcement, government officials, survivors, and others, will present the truth about trafficking at 6:30 at Grace Point Church in Denton. For more information, you can visit Facebook and Refuge for Women National. That's a great organization to help out with. And our Denton County Amateur Radio Association will be hosting their annual Winter Field Day on Saturday, January the 28th at noon. And then on Sunday, from noon on Saturday to noon on Sunday, the 29th, at the Pilot Knoll Park in Highland Village. And Eric, are you going to be there? I imagine you will be. And so this family-friendly event is open to the public. Anyone in the family is welcome to operate the radios and communicate with other ham radio operators around the world. So you can go to dcara.net and find out more about it, dcara.net. All right, we have a few, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Saturday night is the Dancing with the Stars with the United Way. Yep, it's gonna be a great event, a great event. Okay. Ashley, do we get everything but executive session? All right, good. Gustavo, are we signing you up for the dancing next year? Is that what,
Yeah, yeah.
so did Jody and Scott nominate you?
I was telling Mr. Gonzalez that I have a volleyball tournament that day.
Uh-huh, you'll pay not to go, not to dance.
I would win
I'll
anyway.
pay for you not to dance too. All right. Maybe Matt could do it. Look at it. Read executive session, Andy. Okay, 15A, Texas Government Code 418183F. Closed meeting to deliberate information which is confidential under the Texas Disaster Act related to managing emergencies and disasters. 15B, Texas Government Code 5510745A1, personnel matters affecting the county advisory body. Closed meeting to deliberate the employment, evaluation, reassignment duties, discipline, or dismissal of a member of an advisory body to with the Denton County Commissioners Court appointees to the Child Protective Services Board. And 15C, Texas Government Code 5511072, deliberation regarding real property. Closed meeting to deliberate the purchase, lease, or value of real property located in Denton County Commissioner Precinct 4. When deliberation in open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the position of governmental body negotiations with a third person in any appropriate action. All right, it is 10:55 and we're in executive session.